We spend so much time worrying about what's in the air we breathe. Things like pollutants, viruses, all that dust. But what if the biggest, most immediate threat to our lungs wasn't a germ or chemical, but the air itself? Today, we're diving into the shockingly fast and frankly devastating effect that simple, dry air has on our body's most important line of defense. Just take a look at this. It's powerful. On one side, you see a healthy, moist airway doing its job. And on the other, that's the same tissue, but it's been hit by dryness. It literally looks like cracked desert earth, right? And that's basically what it's become. And get this isn't something that takes years to happen. As we're about to find out, this kind of catastrophic failure can start in a matter of seconds. So that's the big question we're tackling. How can something that seems so harmless, it's just the air in our house, right? How can it cause such a total and rapid collapse of a system that's literally designed to keep us alive? Well, let's get into it.
All right, to understand how it all falls apart, we first have to appreciate the hero of this story. And that is our body's absolutely brilliant, self-cleaning airway system. It's got a fancy name, mucociliary clearance. But think of it like a biological escalator for your lungs. It's always running, 24/7, totally silent. Its job is to grab all the junk we breathe in, dust, bacteria, you name it, and get it out before it can do any real damage. It's one of those amazing, unsung heroes of our body. And it works in this beautiful two-step process. Step 1, a super thin, sticky layer of mucus acts like flypaper, trapping anything and everything that comes in. Then, step 2, billions with a B of these tiny little hairs called cilia all start beating together in this perfectly synchronized wave to sweep that mucus up and out. It's simple, it's elegant, and it's incredibly effective. But this incredible system has an Achilles heel. And it's not some exotic virus or a crazy chemical. It's an environmental condition that most of us create every single day: extreme dryness. So here's the bottom line. The whole system's effectiveness, its ability to function at all, comes down to one single thing: water. It's basically a water-based system. If you take away the water, that mucus layer completely loses its slick, slippery quality, and the entire escalator just grinds to a halt. Now, our body is smart. Normally, when you breathe through your nose acts like a perfect little air conditioner. It warms the air up, and crucially, it humidifies it. But when you bypass that system, which can happen in a hospital with a breathing tube, or just by breathing really dry indoor air from your heater or AC, your lower airways get absolutely slammed. They're suddenly forced to provide 85% of that moisture, and they start losing water fast. And this is where the story gets really shocking. This isn't some slow, gradual decline. The collapse of our body's first line of defense happens with breathtaking speed. Listen to this direct quote from one of the studies. It says mucociliary transport, that escalator we just talked about, can deteriorate within seconds of being exposed to normal room air. Not hours, not minutes, seconds. This timeline from the lab is just mind-blowing. At 0 seconds, the dry air starts. In just 2 seconds, the water evaporates so quickly that the mucus gets too thick and heavy to move. The escalator just stops dead in its tracks. And then, by the 4-second mark, the cilia themselves, which are now fighting against this thick sludge, have already slowed down by half. 2 seconds. Just let that sink in for a moment. That's all it takes for your lungs' primary cleaning mechanism to completely fail when it's hit with dry air. It's almost instantaneous. And this right here is the key scientific takeaway. It's not the cilia that fail first, it's the mucus. The rapid water loss literally changes its physical properties, turning it from a nice lubricant into something more like cement. That change is what paralyzes the system, and then the cilia slow down because they simply can't move that heavy, sticky load. So when this microscopic system fails, the consequences can be anything but microscopic. They can be massive and life-threatening. Because that mucus doesn't just sit there, it starts to build up, and it can turn into a deadly plug. Let's look at a tragic, real-world example from one of the sources. Imagine this. A child on a ventilator in the ICU suddenly starts crashing. Their oxygen levels are plummeting, and the medical team is scrambling to figure out what's wrong. When they finally investigate, they find the cause. It's a solid mucus plug, formed from that same dehydrated, thickened gunk, and it has completely blocked the main airway into the child's right lung. The air supply is just cut off.
Despite everything they tried, they couldn't revive the child. This shows you the absolute worst-case scenario of a failed clearance system. So how on earth does this happen? Well, healthy mucus is about 97% water, with only about 3% solids. But look at this chart. When it dehydrates, the concentration of those solids can skyrocket to over 15%. That's a massive change that transforms it from a slippery fluid into a dense, solid mass that's more than capable of plugging up an airway. And this blockage leads to a condition called atelectasis. It's a scary-sounding word, but the concept is pretty simple. When an airway is plugged, all those tiny little air sacs downstream, the ones that are supposed to be exchanging oxygen, they get starved of air. And just like a balloon, they deflate and collapse. This is how a simple mucus plug can literally shut down an entire section of your lung. Okay, so knowing just how fast and how severe this threat can be, what can we actually do about it? How do we protect the very system that's designed to protect us? The good news is, there are definitely things we can do. And it's important because beyond these sudden events, constant exposure to irritants like dry air causes serious long-term damage. You actually start to lose those precious cilia. The tissue itself starts to break down. You can even get these weird situations where cells change into less effective types. And paradoxically, the body might try to compensate by making even more mucus-producing cells, which, you guessed it, just makes the whole problem worse. So the solutions are actually pretty straightforward. First and foremost, hydration is everything. Drink water. Remember, the whole system runs on it. Second, use a humidifier, especially in the winter when the heat is on, or in the summer with the AC blasting. And of course, try to avoid things that are known to damage cilia, like smoke and other pollutants. So I'll just leave you with this final thought. We often think of ecosystems as being out there, rainforests, coral reefs. But our airway is its own incredibly delicate, moist ecosystem. And every single day, with our climate control, we run the risk of creating an invisible drought right inside our own bodies. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, are we doing enough to protect it?